Right now, I'm living through my very first recession as a real estate investor. So I'm generally a young guy, but for someone who's actively doing deals in real estate, so I'm actively doing house flips, I want to explain what it's like to deal with the recession in a down market as a real estate investor. So this is exactly what it's like. It's scarier than you might think, especially if you're not prepared for it. So luckily for me, I was a little bit more or a lot more prepared for it than most real estate investors because I've gotten proper mentorship and coaching. But essentially, here's what's been happening. I realize that this podcast or this show is not a real estate podcast, but I want to give you some general understanding just as business owners in general. So before, flips were going amazing, meaning you'd fix up a house, you'd list it for sale, and when you listed it for sale, you'd get 20 plus offers, so many offers all over asking price, meaning you got to make a lot of money, you got to make a lot of profits. Now that was the past couple years in that kind of market. However, very quickly, in a matter of months, matter of 6 months or less, the real estate market has shifted so much so that if you list a property for sale, you're no longer getting those 20 offers in a day, all over asking. Right now, you're waiting 3+ months now on market, trying to sell your house, not getting paid, and that's what it's like now. So to go through that, it's a whole new experience for me because this is a true recession. It's a real recession. You know, instead of me trying to actually make 50K on a property in a day, I might actually have to drop the price so much where instead of making 50K on that property, we would make $20,000, $10,000. Like it's this drastic of a change in such a short amount of time. And I want to explain, I guess, the emotions or the logic behind how do you deal with that. So the past few months, like I said before, luckily I've bought all my houses at deep enough discounts where I'm okay and I'm not losing money on properties, but we're definitely not making as much money on all these properties. So the thing to learn is that even if you are in a great market, no matter if you're in real estate or not, if you're in a great industry, a great market, I want you to understand that these things can change so fast. And you have to be prepared for it. You have to be prepared for the worst because when the worst happens, you will regret it if you were not prepared for this. So the biggest thing, first of all, as a business owner or entrepreneur, always keep proper cash reserves. Now, the amount of cash reserves you keep in your bank completely depends on your risk tolerance, but as a general rule of thumb, I think it's pretty safe to have at least 6 months of cash reserves, meaning if you were to live for 6 months, no income, zero income were to come in, you'd be okay. That's what I mean by the cash reserves. Now, of course, if you are more risk averse, you probably would want like a year's worth of cash reserves. If you're okay with the higher risk and you do good with your back against the wall, maybe 3 months of cash reserves. But the point I'm trying to get across is always have enough cash on hand to survive the downtimes. Because as business owners, as entrepreneurs, there are very real downtimes, and I don't want to sugarcoat it for you. It's tough sometimes, and I want you to be prepared. And also, as well as just keeping cash reserves, you also have to keep a very close eye on your cash in general. So especially in these downtimes, money goes away very fast. And I don't know if it's just a real estate investing thing for business, but I'm pretty sure that a lot of businesses out there rely on a lot of cash, a lot of expenses that are going out every single day, every week, every month. And if you are not keeping a close eye on your income and your bank accounts, you're not looking at your bank accounts every single day, knowing exactly what you're spending, exactly what you're earning, you could run out of money without even knowing it. So that's why I really want to stress, keep an eye on your money, always have the cash reserves in place. This is just the things that I'm learning as a business owner going through this recession. So be ready for the worst, have the cash reserves. And another thing is that I don't think enough entrepreneurs talk about it because a lot of gurus or just influencers in general in the entrepreneur space, we all tend to talk about trying to just earn more money. We all talk about earning more money. Who cares about cutting your expenses? The goal is to make so much money that you don't have to care about your expenses. Well, yes, that is true. However, I will say that if you can learn to live off of nothing and you could be dead broke and still be able to survive with very little money, you can make it through anything. Because when these times do get tough, if you don't have the proper skill set to live off of nothing or live off of very little, whether that's personal expenses or your business expenses, knowing how to operate your business with very little expense when needed and when necessary, you could go underwater. You can go bankrupt. And I think just thinking of that sounds like a horrible feeling, but I know so many business owners go through this, which is okay. It's a learning experience. But at the same time, if you were to just listen to this podcast and understand how to deal with recessions or down markets of whatever industry you're in, you'd be much better off. So learn how to live with nothing. I think that is a skill that is severely underrated. If you learn this, you'll be able to survive anything. So these are the general lessons that I want you to take away from my business as a real estate investor. Of course, this isn't a real estate podcast. This is a podcast for entrepreneurs and for business owners. But I think the lesson can be made for every single industry out there is that even if things are going well, understand how fast they can turn. And they can turn fast for things that are out of your control. So you have to learn to be adaptable, and you have to learn to change with different markets and different cycles. And if you do so, and if you do these things, you'll be just okay. I promise you.